Welcome back, dear students and friends. Here today we are going to start with chapter number 8, the cell, the unit of life. So students, you know that this is the first session of our biology and we will discuss with very basic concepts of this biology. If you see around your, then you can find the two different types of things. You find the two different types of a thing which you can classify into two different parts. The first variety you can know, it is living thing, and the second variety you know which you found surrounding to you, that is non-living thing. You take any example, you can easily classify it as either living or you can classify it as non-living. See examples. Like a fan that is present in your room, that is living or non-living? You clearly say that it is non-living. If you see a plant that is present outside your window, that is living or non-living, then your answer is living. If I say example human being, then you will clearly say it is living being. If you take an example of on a bench, then you will say that it is non-living. You can clearly identify which one is a living and which one is a non-living. Okay, so the study of that living thing we will do in this chapter, that is biology, or in this chapter we will study regarding its concepts. Okay, so study of that living organism we are calling it as biology. We will learn the characteristics and the properties of it in this biology. Now the characteristic of that non-living that you will learn in the other sciences like physics and chemistry. Okay, in this you will learn the characteristics of non-living things. Okay, so the characteristic of living thing we are learning in biology, characteristic of non-living we are learning into physics and chemistry. Okay, now as you know that what is living being? The living being or living organism is the organism who has life. The living organism is the organism who has a life. This is called as living organism. Okay, and the living one, they can perform a certain life processes like growth, reproduction, metabolism, you can say digestion, respiration, locomotion and movement, and even the death is a characteristic of living organism that are not performed by non-living thing or non-living things. Okay, so this is known as difference between a living and a non-living. Okay, so now today we have to focus, this is very basic regarding the biology. Now today we have to focus regarding a cell. What we have to focus? A cell. So if you see a living organism which is present surrounding to you, that all living organism that contain a basic one, what they contain? A cell. Okay, so that's why we are considering this cell. Cell is considered as, cell is a structural and functional unit of living organism. Cell is considered as structural as well as functional unit of living organism. This is a very basic unit which you can find in every living organism. This is a cell. It is a cell. Okay, so it is a structural and functional unit of all living organism. Okay, now based on number of cells, the living organisms can be classified into two types. Two types of living organism. Living organisms. Which are the two types of a living organism? These living organisms are classified into two types based on number of cells. Okay, The first is called as unicellular, and the second one it's called as multicellular. How many types of living organism? There are two types of a living organism, unicellular, and the second one is called as multicellular. Okay, what do you mean by a unicellular? Uni means one, cellular means cell. They possess how many cells? They possess one cell. Okay, they possess how many cells? One cell. They are called as unicellular living organism. The other one is multicellular living organism. They possess how many cells? They possess more than one cell. Multi means more than, many. If they possess more than one cell, they are called as multicellular. They are called as multicellular. Clear? So unicellular means they have one cell, and multicellular, that means they have more than one cell. Okay? So which are the examples of unicellular living organism? The examples of unicellular living organisms are as follows. The first one is amoeba, bacteria, yeast, paramecium, and the last one is chlamydomonas. Okay, these are the examples of unicellular organisms. Which are the examples? I again repeat: amoeba, bacteria, yeast, paramecium, and chlamydomonas. Okay, they are unicellular living organisms. This is chlamydomonas, it's a unicellular algae. Yeast, it's unicellular fungi. Okay, so if you have been asked specifically, then they are the examples. Okay, so amoeba, bacteria, yeast, paramecium, and chlamydomonas, these are the few examples of unicellular living organism. Okay, now the another class of living organism based on number of cell, that is multicellular organism. That is multicellular. So you know that they contain how many cells? They contain more than one cell. So that's why they are called as multicellular. Okay, so they possess more than one cell, and the examples of them are, like you can say, plants. Plants usually more than one cell, or you can say most of the animals, they have usually more than one cells. So they are called as multicellular. Okay, so they are multicellular organism. Most of the plants and the animals, they are multicellular, means they possess more than one cell. So this is a classification based on number of cells in a living organism. Okay, so that is regarding a cell. Cell is a structural, remember, cell is a structural and functional unit of any living organism. Okay, now let's see another thing. So the question comes in a mind, how the life starts. Every life or every living organism, they start their life from a single cell, only a one cell. From this one cell, the life starts. I am just drawing the schematic diagram of a cell. This cell from which the life starts, the cell is called as zygote. What it is called as? Zygote. So every living organism, remember one thing, every living organism, they start their life from a single cell. What this single cell is called? Zygote. This single cell is called as zygote. Now, from this zygote, the multicellular organism develops. From this single cell, the whole human being develops, or whole plant is developed. Even our life also starts from a single cell in the mother's womb. Okay, and that cell is zygote. But from this single cell, how many cells, living organism have been formed? So from this single cell, this zygote, it continues to divide, and it forms 2 cells. That again continue to divide, form 4 cells, like this. Okay, so many many cells containing living organisms are going to be formed by a division of a cell. By division of a cell. Okay. So this is called as a process by which the multicellular organism is formed. But you know that every cell do not have a capacity to divide. Every cell cannot divide. Those cells which have a capacity to divide, that capacity to divide, it's called as totipotency. What it can be called as? Totipotency. Means ability of a cell to divide, that is called as totipotency. Okay, so this is called as totipotency. Okay, so this is very basic about the chapter number 8, cell. Okay, I again repeat, what is a cell? Okay, so what is a cell? Cell is a fundamental unit of any living organism. It is structural and functional unit of living organism. Okay, this living organism can be classified based on number of cells. They are of two types: unicellular, multicellular. Unicellular means they possess the one cell, and the examples are amoeba, bacteria, yeast, paramecium, chlamydomonas. These are the examples. And the multicellular organisms means they possess the more than one cell. The examples are plants and animals. Now the question comes to our mind that unicellular organism, they possess only one cell. But can an organism with a one cell survive? Yes. So who are considered as just a unicellular organism? So those they can, or I write over here, those which show independent existence, which shows the independent existence. Okay. The second one is it can function independently. So it can perform all the functions. This is considered as unicellular organism. Okay. The other one are not considered as unicellular organism. Unicellular organism means those organisms which can independently exist, or it can function independently, or it can perform the functions independently. They are considered as unicellular living organism. Okay, they are only just classified into a unicellular organism. Now the another thing, every life or every living organism, they start their life from a single cell. What it is called? Zygote. And this zygote continue to divide and it form multicellular organism. But every living organism or every cell do not have a capacity to divide. The capacity of a division, this is called as totipotency. What it is called? Totipotency. The capability of a cell to divide and produces the new individual, that capacity is called as totipotency. Okay, so this is about introduction of a cell.